Well, as I said, even as the Kokernag battle that continued to rage on, politics continues unabated over the encounter operation. You have the National Conference and the Congress leaders who have once again insisted that there should be talks with Pakistan and called it the only solution. BJP has condemned this, the Congress stance, and they've challenged it. They've said that these kind of views once again show that there are certain political parties which are sympathetic to the cause of Pakistan. That politics, despite the death of our brave hearts, continues in this country. Listen in to some key statements that have come so far.
लड़ाई से अमन नहीं आता है, बातचीत से अमन आता है। मुझसे बात नहीं करने से कोई फायदा नहीं है। बातचीत करनी दो मुल्कों की है जिनमें ये फसाद है।
मासूम लोग मारे जा रहे हैं तो प्रोपेगेंडा से नहीं होगा। आप अमन की तरफ कदम बढ़ाइए। यहाँ का वजीर आजम कहना चाहिए हम पाकिस्तान के साथ अमन से रहना चाहते हैं और खून खराबा बंद होना चाहिए। हिंदुस्तान की अजमत कम नहीं होगी।
ये कांग्रेस की सोच है, सैफुद्दीन सोच। आर्मी के चीफ को सड़क का गुंडा कहती है कांग्रेस, और आतंकवादी के मन को पढ़ने के लिए प्रयास करना चाहिए, इस बयान की हम निंदा करते हैं।
मेजर आशीष की मां वो कह रही है कि उन्होंने तो बच्चा पाल पोस कर देश को सौंप दिया, उसने देश के लिए कुर्बानी दे दी, लेकिन अगर बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट सरकार ने दिला दिए होते तो आज उनका बेटा और बाकी लोग जिंदा होते। इसको सुनने के बाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी या सरकार की कोई नैतिकता है इस पर बात भी करने की?
Well, joining us on the broadcast is Ashpreet Kadyal from the Congress Party. We also have Tara Kata, who's a distinguished fellow at the IPCS and a former director of the National Security Council Secretariat. Mr. Shashikant, who is the former DGP of Punjab, is also with us on the show. And Lalit Ambardar, who's a Kashmiri activist, is also joining us on the broadcast. Ashpreet, I want to come to you first. And, you know, before we began that conversation, we had General Malik with us on the broadcast, the former army chief. And he said all this talk about from various political parties, and of course he didn't name anyone, I have to quote him correctly. He said there needs to be a broader consensus, political consensus in this country when it comes to the country of Pakistan. In the last 50 years, whichever government has come in, the other political party has targeted them. Once again, we are seeing the kind of politics, the political statements that have come out after the death of our brave hearts. But I believe the question is for all political parties, including the Congress, that have we really had a consistent policy when it comes to Pakistan? And is this really an occasion to take pot shots at each other?
Thank you, Anusha, for the question. Kindly allow me a minute and a half uninterrupted. First and foremost, it's very unfortunate that the Bharatiya Janata Party's government was busy, welcoming the Prime Minister, garlanding the Prime Minister, giving him a rousing welcome when our Jawans were fighting the terrorists, and when they were lying, in the line of duty, they were laying down their lives for us, for India. And the Bharatiya Janata Party's government, our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, could not suspend his schedule to take stock of the operation and to make sure that an action was ordered in it immediately. And this is not the first time, Anusha, this has happened. Back in the day in 2019 when Pulwama happened, you remember that the former governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Satyapal Malik, he made big revelations that he called Mr. Modi and he said that the 40 Jawans that have been martyred have died due to our mistake, and Mr. Modi told him to keep quiet, is what he said in very clear words, the former governor. Number two, I want to ask the Bharatiya Janata Party's government, if there is a spokesperson sitting from them, that what inquiry was ordered into it? Was an inquiry ordered? Was anyone made accountable? Because Mr. Satyapal Malik also added that no inquiry was ordered by the Bharatiya Janata Party's government. Had it been ordered, the Home Minister, then Home Minister...
I've given you 1.5 minutes uninterrupted, as you said. My question to you was not on Pulwama. My question to you was on something that has happened right now. You've made certain opening arguments, but I'm afraid they're not contextual and relevant to the debate we are having right now.
I'm sorry, Anusha, I do not have to seek permission before addressing some concerns of the nation, concerns of the army, concerns of Indians. If the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has to show apathy every time an incident happens, I'm sorry, we will question them. And every time they have shown apathy, they have shown ignorance, we will make them accountable for that. Because we happen to be living in this country, surviving, breathing, living because of our Jawans. because of our soldiers. And if there are people, you know, mothers, parents coming in front of the soldiers and saying that if bulletproof jackets would have been there, many lives could have been saved, many Jawans could have been saved. I'm sorry. This government should feel ashamed for that.
All right,
and they should apologize.
Let me try and bring in Mr. Lalit Ambardar, who's an activist also into this discussion. Mr. Ambardar, do you find this criticism that has been leveled on the government valid? I mean, the fact of the matter is, and most of the army veterans, including the former army chief, have said that, look, the number of casualties in Jammu and Kashmir have come down significantly. But because the attitude of the neighbor across the border has not changed, we cannot completely eliminate it. What we require in this country is a mature political consensus and a consistent policy when we are dealing with Pakistan. It cannot be just each time a discussion about should we play cricket with them. That's not going to, let Pakistan change their stance or their policy towards India.
Anusha, I feel so sorry that you just now, General Malik, the veteran, he spoke his mind, and as a soldier, he gave his opinion. And it has not had any impact on the political opinion being expressed right here on your channel. Can you imagine how you are taking pot shots on the government? Narendra Modi is supposed to order life jackets, bulletproof jackets for the soldiers. Is Narendra Modi responsible for the standard of procedure that has been implemented at site? Is he responsible for that? And I may tell you, if you have to take pot shots on Narendra Modi, if you have to, you hate him, that's your democratic right. But you are doing, in the meanwhile, in the process, you are hating India. You are letting down the nation. What has happened in Anantnag today is not a small skirmish. It's an act of war. You have 3 senior officers falling to the bullets of the jihadis right at the beginning of the operation. This should be a matter of concern. It's not Kargil, it's a mini Kargil happening right in the heart of the valley in Anantnag. So instead of coming together in support of the government, that you have an enemy which is an incorrigible enemy. Let me say it. The General Malik was referring to, let me say it openly. Such as the government has bent down to see and seek friendship with Pakistan. It's high time we realize seeking friendship with Pakistan is like chasing mirage. Can you imagine why? Because they have tasted blood. Blood in 1947 came as a big achievement of Ghazwa Hind 1,000 years old war. They have tasted blood, and Kashmir Jihad is continuation of that the 1,000 years of.
As far as the issue of policy, the medium to long-term policy issue is concerned, I believe Taraji has a...
Let me complete.
10 seconds to you, then I'll go to Tarakata. Please go ahead.
See, this government, any of the opposition party, let me say, even concluding this government, is yet to acknowledge formally what Kashmiri Hindus suffered, who were the first victims of Kashmir Jihad. Kashmiri Hindu genocide still goes unacknowledged.
I take that point.
Instead of giving a constructive suggestion to the government, you're only trying to, and what you're doing.
Is divisive politics really the way when it comes to national security issues? I think that's the broader issue that we continue to talk about. Taraji, I'm coming back to you, and I want to hinge the debate today on what General Malik had really said. And General Malik argued that diplomacy, military, economy, on different fronts, there needs to be a consistent policy in this country, a consistent stance in this country, and all political parties need to be on the same table. I mean, I did sense that it was belittling in many ways when we talk about should we play cricket with Pakistan each time we suffer loss of this nature. It has to be about a political consensus. It has to be about a strategic long-term policy that India adopts irrespective of political party, whichever is administering the country or ruling the country at the central level. Taraji.
See, I have served with 5 governments. I've seen policy with all of them. It's been in the past pretty inconsistent. So I'll just leave it at that. It's the right of political opposition to criticize as long as they don't question the army's operational integrity. I'm okay with the opposition doing whatever it does. That's fine. But like you said, I would wish that they could stand together and, demand of the international community that look at this country which gets away with all this. I just listened to, I won't name who, a certain US official who was talking about counterterrorism operations and saying that we still work with Pakistan. What kind of policy is this where a country does all this and gets away with it? I'd like to, when this government, which I'm happy to see, has adopted a consistent policy. I'm not supporting politically anybody, but it has been consistent.
But Taraji, allow me interjection, and I'm doing this for the purpose of the debate to substantiate it more. You worked with about 5 governments, as you argued, and you said that on the policy front, a lot of governments have not been consistent, and you do sense a certain amount of stability and consistency when it comes to this government. What is the consistency that we are talking about? Could you substantiate it? Could we go a layer deeper?
You've taken separatism off the table.
Yep.
You're done. That is the biggest policy change that you've done. Nobody, and you see how Kashmir is appreciated, how it is stabilized. That is the point. It is no longer anything that is not on the table anymore. We are done. That's what Pakistan, that's the message which has gone to Pakistan. And I've seen the effect of that message. Then I'd like to bring you, however, one more issue. See, in the last July, August, September, March onwards, every month, there has been a Pakistani arrested outside the country. One was in The Hague, one was in Washington, one was in UK. They're all over the place. So the Pakistani, what shall I say? I don't know how to say the people. I mean, the people are a different entity, but this whole terrorism in Pakistan has gone out of control.
Yeah.
If it's not blasphemy, if it's not attacks against Christians, the latest one, the one which was a court order by the Dutch government against this Pakistani cricketer who issued a death threat against an MP. I mean, on a blasphemy issue. So this is the mentality you're dealing with, and it's very dangerous.
But ma'am,
so
I believe one moot point that you've made, and as I move in the line of arguments, the moot point was there has to be a stable political consensus, and you argue that one thing that this government presently has been consistent about in these 2 terms is to take separatism off the table. They have not created any nuance there, any degree of second guessing there. The separatism, that discourse is off the table, and that's a clear position that this government has taken. Mr. Shashikant, has that position by the government to take separatism, that narrative off the table, helped the cause of peace and stability in Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, let me make it very clear. We have been talking about consistencies and inconsistencies. One thing is clear, we all, irrespective of our political affiliations, have to realize that it is not insurgency, it is not, religious thing. It is Pakistani-sponsored low-intensity warfare. And that is the definition which all the persons who talk about strategy, they recognize. I fail to understand why we, as a nation, refuse to accept it. That yes, Pakistan is continuously indulging in a proxy war, it's low-intensity warfare, and they have to be dealt with accordingly. And I think one more thing, I heard that somebody was saying, I think the man was saying, probably rightly so, because she must be knowing more than I am. I have been in all sorts of intelligence agencies. And I know these terrorists sitting in Pakistan have not gone berserk as such. They are being closely guided by the ISI. They are trained, they are indoctrinated, all guidance, all money, arms, everything has to go. My only one point that I'll make it, the entire nation, political parties included, have to realize that it's a war, low-intensity war, a proxy war, and it has to be dealt with as such. If we talk of terrorism, terrorism is never homegrown. This is something which is being imposed upon our country, by Pakistan. Realize it and come together. Till such time there is no consensus, we keep on fighting like we fight within a family. Tera, mera, that kind of thing, that doesn't work. There has to be realization, a proper strategy, and then we should act as far as Pakistan is concerned. Thank you.
Okay. Arshpreet Kadyal, taking that point forward, separatism off the table, and that's a consistent position that this government has had. In fact, I must raise it to you because these are points that were raised by certain BJP spokespersons as well earlier in the day as we were covering the story. There was a press conference by the BJP in which it was argued that various Congress leaders, including Rahul Gandhi, have a history of making statements which tantamount to quote-unquote mocking the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces. So the Congress party has no moral authority to tell BJP anything.
If anyone is mocking our army, our Jawans' sacrifice. It is in clear words the Bharatiya Janata Party. Here, our Jawans have made a supreme sacrifice, laid down their lives for the country. And on the other hand, the Bharatiya Janata Party at its national headquarters is having celebrations. So let's have that very clear that the Bharatiya Janata Party should apologize for doing this, unjustifiable act. And number two, the gentleman who's the Kashmiri activist, he said that this is not a small skirmish, it's an act of war. Definitely. And if it is an act of war, shouldn't the government have acted accordingly and not have had celebrations? Instead, number two, could the government not suspend its schedule and make sure they took stock of the operation? And he said, it's not the government's job. This is not the government's job to intervene. If it is not, please question the government. Why do they have Agniveer program then? Why has the government intervened there? Did you ever question the Bharatiya Janata Party government over that? No.
I will take the objection that you've raised, Harshpreet, about the optics of how it really looked like. And was that really the proportionate response to the experts on the panel? But there's another point to which I want you to respond. That is it merely about the optics of it, or should we also talk about the substance of it in terms of the manner in which the government has taken its position when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, whether it's the abrogation of the special status, or is it about bringing down the instances of violence that we have seen, or the number of stone pelting instances? The overall situation in the valley has become better by sheer numbers if you look at them. Harshpreet.
Let's talk of the substance. And I'll mince no words. Anusha, you remember when this government were to operationalize Article 370, many of their senior leaders said in clear words that there would be no militancy. There would be no terrorist attacks. No means nothing at all. And after that, we have seen how many Jawans, how many army officers, how many police officers have had to lay down their lives for the country. Now, should the Bharatiya Janata Party's government not condemn themselves for this? Out of a little bit of respect for our Jawans, that they said something, but they could not deliver upon that. And number two, one thing for sure, if Pakistan is leaving no stone unturned to attack our country, to attack our Jawans, should the Prime Minister have visited Pakistan to wish Mr. Nawaz Sharif, the former Prime Minister, birthday? Should he have had Kashmiri chai with him? Should he have had biryani with him?
Let's be fair here. Let's be fair here and call what it is. I mean, you've made certain valid arguments and that I've taken to the panel as well. But in fact, we have Taraji on the broadcast. She doesn't have any political affiliations. She argued that when it comes to policy vis-a-vis Pakistan, various governments have been inconsistent. Yes, she's not named the Congress party, but yes, it's the view of various strategic experts that our policy vis-a-vis Pakistan has not been consistent, and this is under the Congress regime. Let's come to the second point, which is a rather more substantial argument. The manner in which the discourse around separatism has been taken off the table. It's a very clear political position that the government of India has taken. This is not a position that the Congress party was able to take at any point in independent India's history. Isn't that factual?
Now I'll tell you what the government has done. When in 2019 Pulwama happened, 40 Jawans were martyred, Mr. Modi's documentary did not stop. Did not stop the documentary shooting. And I think we should call a spade a spade. If the government is doing wrong, if the government isn't doing its duty, they should be condemned for that. And here, it's not about politics. It's about your priorities. Are our Jawans not your priority at all whatsoever, that you could not stop your documentary and take stock of the operation? There also this happened.
Had a documentary, had a political function being called off, I mean, it would have been more somber, it would be more gracious, but that doesn't substantially... No, one second. But Harshpreet, that doesn't answer substantially. Has the government done better on the strategic front or in terms of enhancing our operational capabilities when it comes to fighting the terrorists? I have to bring another guest as well.
Busy shooting a documentary.
I have to bring another guest as well. Taraji, do you buy that criticism? There's a lot of optics here. It's a politically charged attack which is coming in against the government, and I believe opposition has all the right to question that. But their questions are more about political optics, or do you sense that there is a larger substance to it? Taraji.
I think, it is, to be absolutely fair, a certain degree of political, thing is, I get that, right? I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I also have to say that this is a government which took the fight into Pakistan. We've never done that. They went, that is drawing a red line, saying this is as far as we're going, no more. Will terrorism suddenly be switched off like a tap? As an operational person, I can tell you, it can't. And it won't. Even in the months ahead, you will see more terror attacks. It is not going to go away so easily. So once you dismantle that whole terror network, yeah, it went down hugely. Now, in this attack, what you're saying is these people hidden in caves, they slowly they'll try and get another kind of a network. I mean, the IGP can tell you that they will try to get another network going. This will continue regardless of Article 370. Because that's why I refer to Pakistan. That is Pakistan's nature. It was not going to change. The weaker it is, the more it will attack you.
Yeah.
So you talk to them. I mean, let them first shut down 20, 30 terrorist camps. Then we'll talk to them. Give me a signal that you're willing to do something about this, not just talk about what.
Mr. Shashikant, when it comes to the modus operandi which has been used by these terrorists there, and that gunfight or that encounter operation still continues to go on, they continue to use the safe spots in a dense forest area. And that makes it all the more very difficult for security forces to nab these terrorists. And this kind of method has been seen in the last couple of encounter operations which have been done, especially in the Anantnag district. Is this something new that we are witnessing?
No, it ain't new. It has happened all over the world, because these guys who are indulging in this kind of activities, they think that they want to save themselves first. And here I'll agree with the ma'am she just talked about. Of course, since Pakistan is getting weaker it gets, it will become more and more hostile. And my question is, talking of consistencies, inconsistencies, optics, whatever it is, I fail to understand, maybe you can call me a hawk, why we have not till now raised the issue of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. If they keep on doing all these things as far as our country is concerned, our entire Kashmir is concerned, this is about the time when all the political parties, irrespective of their differences or whatever, why can't in one voice we start talking about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and tell it to the entire world that is our Kashmir and we want it back? That, I think, will be an appropriate answer, because if we don't raise it, Pakistan might be thinking that we are sort of getting weak, that maybe we are compromised. No, there's no compromise. As a hawk, I'll say yes, Pakistan and the entire world has to say that we want our entire Kashmir, which is under Pakistan occupation. Thank you.
Mr. Lalit Ambardar, have the political differences back home here in India, or the political schisms, made it difficult for India to have a strong position against Pakistan, and the change of successive parties at the union level, at the central level, has meant that there has been inconsistency in the method and manner we have dealt with Pakistan? It is trivializing an issue when you compare what Pakistan has been doing in Kashmir, fostering terror, and in fact across the world, and you talk about whether we should play cricket with them. And we need to have better solutions. We need to have a medium to long-term policy when we are dealing with a hostile neighbor like Pakistan.
See, we need to understand, right from the day Pakistan was created, Pakistan was born, we have been mollycoddling Pakistan. And you know, the day Pakistan, 14th of August 1947, why Pakistanis did not fall from heaven. They were Indian-born Indians who betrayed their motherland on 14th of August 1947 in the name of Jinnah Sunnishan theory, in the name of Islam, and created Pakistan. You know what was their parting slogan? Ladke liya hai Pakistan, haske leke Hindustan. In spite of this, can you imagine, in the military history, ever a winning army was asked to stop by the then government of India? We could have liberated the whole of occupied Jammu and Kashmir at that time, and this problem would have ceased even then. Then we went to UNO. Then third time, I tell you after 26/11 in Mumbai, what happened? After 3 months, only after 3 months, the then Prime Minister chose to call Pakistanis men of peace, and we watched the cricket match together in Chandigarh. This has been the policy. Even Narendra Modi did the same thing. First thing, he wanted uninvited, he wanted to go to Pakistan. Everybody has tried to do it, but from 5th of August 2019, I say it with confidence, like it has changed the whole narrative. And what happened on 5th of August 2019, it was historical. And I tell you, everybody claims that after Article 370 is gone, then everything will come everything hunky-dory. No, not at all. On 5th of August 2019 began the process of dismantling that Islamo-fascistic ecosystem that was flourishing in Pakistan. Mini Pakistan was flourishing in Pakistan. That process of disbanding of that has begun. It will take time. But as far as Kashmir Jihad is concerned, it's a hybrid war as on today. And everywhere in the world, Jihad conflicts are reversed only or fought only through war. And let me tell you, sir and ma'am was also saying about it. Listen, you cannot. There's no jihad war has been won till now in the modern history. I follow jihad conflict around the world. You can only contain it till there are reforms within Islam within. And I see a whole ray of hope in Prince Salman of Saudi Arabia. Till that happens, we have to live with it. And as sir was referring to, we have to shift I
have to close the debate. I have to close this discussion in the next few minutes. I want to take one final comment from all our guests as far as political consensus is concerned. And we have Arshpreet also with us on the broadcast, who's from the Congress party. But Arshpreet, just keeping the politics aside for a moment and talking about the sacrifices of Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish and DSP Humayun Bhat and various other soldiers who have laid down their lives fighting for this country. Is it time to keep the political differences, domestic political differences aside, and perhaps a consensus politically as to how to deal with Pakistan? Is it possible that each time a terror attack happens, BJP and Congress are not fighting and we are talking about how to deal with Pakistan?
Exactly. The Bharatiya Janata Party, I hope some of their leaders, especially in the government, are listening to you and would make sure that they do not just listen but also implement it when it comes to their actions and it comes to their words. Because you see, the family was mourning the death of these brave hearts. And on the same, at the same time, the Bharatiya Janata Party was celebrating. So they should be a little more sensitive. And number two, you know, when we talk of the substance, anyone here on the panel, if could tell me, was the government right when they allowed ISI into the Pathankot airbase? Was it right for them to do it? And the repercussions.
Listen, let me answer.
One second. I'll come to you. Laliji, I'll come to you.
ISI was allowed into our Pathankot airbase. Nobody can justify that. It was one of the biggest blunders committed ever on Indian soil. And number two, all right, Lalit Ambadar, a quick comment from you. Yes, please go
just ahead. Listen, I said stop this bickering what you did. I can name under one thing. What did we do in Sharm el-Sheikh? What did we do in Sharm el-Sheikh?
I think you should question the government.
That? Number one,
they should stop the celebrations when this is happening. Your government was, the government was constructive.
One at a time. Arshpreet, let him speak. Arshpreet, let him speak. Yeah.
What I tell you one thing, instead of taking pot shot on BJP and
it's not pot shots.
This is Kashmir. Kashmir belongs to you as much as to me.
When the family was mourning.
Forget about that. I'm telling you what did you do in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Did you condemn the government for that? Did you condemn the government for that?
I have done it 101 times.
I think both Arshpreet and Lalit Ambadar have answered the question that I asked, that is it possible to have some kind of consensus? I believe not. I believe the political atmosphere in this country has not really changed. I want to have closing comments from Taraji as well. She's with us on the broadcast. Taraji, give us a policy perspective. Is it possible? Are the inconsistencies between political parties and the approach that they take at a security level, at the policy level, so stark that there could be no consensus? Or is it merely the electoral political differences which are dominating how political parties approach this issue? Taraji.
I think that's an excellent question. Unfortunately, I think you're right. There can be no consensus on this. Rather than a blame game, I would like them all to come together and stand behind our Jawans. You know, just say, listen, we are with you. No matter what happens, Congress, BJP, XYZ, whoever it is, we stand with our army. Can they do that? I would love to say that. That's it. You blame rest of it later.
I think that could also...
And that would call an all-party meet. Anusha, just one thing. The Bharatiya Janata Party should call an all-party meet so that this is not just words, but it's translated into action also.
And all of us.
I mean, yes, BJP is in power today and they are the party responsible that should have a political consensus on the table. But as the policy experts said, that we should always have had a policy, position when it comes to the issue. I believe that's all the time that we have. Thank you, gentlemen. Tarakata, Lalit, Ambardas, Shashikant and Ashpreet Kadyal for joining us on the broadcast.